So now we're gonna do a thing which I call revamp the tapping sound system. I explained this, excuse me. I've got basically a network of like sounds and triggers and whatnot here. And every once in a while a player will step on these and it will cause like a distant tapping sound in the basement as long as other players aren't close to it, which worked out very well. It spooks me even, and I'm the one who designed it, which is a very good sign. However, it's horribly inefficient the way that I've got this set up. I can't say it's inefficient, it's just, it could be better. So I'm gonna take all these bits called the sound part, and I'm gonna move them up like this. I'm gonna make them ball shaped just because I can, and I'll make them 1 by 1 by 1 stud because these are just here for like reference. Man, this looks like those, what were they called? Action trap? What were they called? Hang on a second. Trapper covers? Trapper keepers, I think. Yeah, this is starting to look like some of the cover art on Trapper Keepers. I'm trying to look up like good example. Yeah, like anyone else remember these? Oh man, can we nominate this for the next Trapper? Do they still make them? I think I'm a little bit late to that party. Anyway, the point is, the way this used to work is these pink things were like really big. You can see it in previous episodes, and it would, if a player touched them, it would make it so that the sound next to this couldn't play because players are too close. But I'm going to make it so it doesn't use that, because having them be big enough to constantly determine whether or not a player is stepping on them is just not the best way to do this. Window, I think I mentioned the scripting library a few episodes back. I've got another thing here. This is kind of the logic that we'll be using to revamp this event. So I'm gonna determine, I think this would be the best one to test it out with first. Scale that back down. Each one of these models has a sound part and a trigger in it, so it can kind of determine, like, this trigger refers to the sound part over there. So let me see here. Yeah, so I think it's just this logic that we need to change. This is where we need to put the change. So I'm gonna disable the sound part script for now, and in fact, I'm gonna bring this back just in case this doesn't work. I'm just gonna comment that out nice and gracefully. Okay, so let me just copy and paste this in and I'll kind of read through. Okay, so point equals script.parent.parent.sound part. All right, so this, I'm really bad at explaining this, but this, where'd it go? So this point variable here that we're setting up refers to this little orb here. What we're gonna do with that is we're going to make sure that there aren't any players who are standing within 50 studs of this before playing the sound. So only if there aren't players within 50 studs of that are we gonna play the sound. Because the idea of this tapping system is it needs to sound always distant from other players. Players shouldn't walk up to it and be able to identify some invisible part is causing the source of the sound. I want it to seem like there's something down there in the basement with you, paranormal or otherwise, you don't know what it is, and it's constantly evading you. That's basically the vibe I want this to give. So I'm actually I'll leave that alone for now. So players, get players, that looks good. Local nearest player for player in players. So I think that I've got enough logic there to test this, at least. I'm gonna have to like play it and not just run it, but let's just see what happens if I touch that, because I think it should print some output now at least. No player in range. Excellent. So now, instead of just saying this, what we can do is incorporate this right here. Boom. And I don't need this if statement anymore. That's part of the old system. Just for giggles, I'll go ahead and show you what the old scripts look like. So here it is. So whenever something started touching, these are back when these pink parts were like really big and spanned huge chunks of this basement. When something started walking on that, it would make sure that it's a player and not a ghost. And if it was, as soon as that touch started, it would set its human's Boolean value to true. And if a player stopped touching it, then it would set it to false. And this script on the trigger would make sure that humans was set to false before it did any of that. So it worked. Make no mistake, my old system worked. I am proud that I figured it out, but it was just such a pain because those massive bricks were in the way while I was trying to touch up my basement. This is just better practice because it's just better, trust me. Also, why do I have a cooldown? Why do I have 2 cooldowns? Because that happens either way, doesn't it? I don't know, I'll figure that out in a second. So I want to comment out the cooldown so I can just constantly touch this until it gives me the number that I need. And in theory, that'll work. It's the one by the elevator, I think. It worked. So now what I can do is actually go into the sound part. I can get rid of this script and that Boolean value. And just like that, that whole trigger runs on one script. The only foreseeable issue I have is what if it doesn't actually detect that another player is near, which means I'm going to have to do some more in-depth testing. I need to simulate 2 players basically and start a local server. So start, and this is going to be a bit trippy. Yeah. This is fine. Allow access. Allow access. All right. So as you can see, like I said, it's very trippy because there's 2 of me. I'm playing as player 1, so I just need to. That's probably within 50 studs of the sound part, but just in case it isn't, I'll go ahead and move much closer. There we go. I'm looking at this to my right, and it's like I'm looking at a security camera or something. All right, so in theory, once I hit 1, it won't play the sound because my other player is standing too close to it. Oh, okay, that's not good. It played the sound, even though there's a player in range. So, let me hit clean up here. So obviously something's not right. It's telling me a player's in range, which is what it's supposed to do. But it still played the sound, even though that was the case. I guess maybe it was working before and I was just confused. Either way, it's working, I believe. Maybe it was just the fact that I was probably just confused. What does 50 studs away from this look like approximately? I'm just gonna spawn in a part. I'm not gonna even keep this. 50 studs away looks like that. Yeah, that's pretty good. Maybe I was just confused before because it seems to be working now. Right, I'm gonna test something one more time, which is basically just the cooldown, but I think we're good to copy and paste this around now. Well, if I wasn't confused before, I am now, that's for sure. I am very confused because now it seems like it's not working again. And look at this output. No player in range. 1 player in range. Why? I get it. Okay, I understand. So the reason that it seemed to be working before, okay. All right, this is a pretty easy fix, I think. I'm really trying to figure out how to explain that. I know what's going on, I don't know how to explain it. Basically, as long as there's at least 1 player who's not in range of the thing, it will make the sound if the coin toss hits 1. So the question becomes, how do I fix that? I think the most logical solution is to have another variable that says player in range, and I'll start that out as false. So it's gonna be true or false. So if the distance, so if the player is in range, then we can say player in range equals true. But then it's gonna find the player that is out of the range and set it to false. Okay, I think the solution is actually to get rid of this else statement here. And also get rid of this. There we go. So if there is a player in range, set player in range to true. And now I'll have a second if statement down here that says if player in range is false, then bother with potentially playing the sound. Because this is only going to set to true if there is a player in range. It doesn't even look at whether or not there isn't a player in range. So you still following me? So the fact is, there was a player in range, yes, but there also was another player that was out of range, which is all the script needed to know in order to fire the sound. But now we're not even like telling the script to pay attention to whether or not there isn't a player in range. We're just saying, if there's a player in range, set that to true, and you get it. And it resets to false every time this is touched as well, which is good. We'll need that. So I think that should do it. All right, let's find out what happens. Please, please let this be the answer. Clean that output, clean that output. You're not gonna see the output, but that's okay. Yeah, so this I think is finally working. So now, as you can see, I got just a minute ago, well, you can't see it actually, I just got done saying you can't see it, but the fact is, I got 8 messages saying that there was a player in range. And now that there's not a player in range, it's playing the sound. Ooh, I figured it out. Okay, ooh, there goes the dopamine. All right, so finally we can start copying and pasting these around the basement because that finally worked. I'm gonna take the sound parts. I'm actually gonna do this by flying to them because it'll help I'm not thinking clearly enough to do this right. So I just don't trust myself with doing it without actually seeing it. Because I know if I try to do it just by looking at the list, I'm gonna accidentally remove the sounds or something and cause myself a whole slew of other problems. Oh, I need to re-enable the cooldown. Whew. And I need to make it so that it actually does flip a coin, or roll dice, I guess. I don't know why I called it coin toss when there's, you know what, I'm gonna just fix that real quick. Coin toss, replace with roll dice. There we go. This is replace all, right? So now that I've got that, I just need to copy and paste the script and put that in all the other triggers. And then I'll copy and paste this whole thing and move it to the other basement. Now I'll get rid of this whole thing and move this, well, duplicate it rather, all the way over here. Ah, that is so much better. Ah, massive weight off my shoulders there. We're going to revamp the wheelchair ghost code in the first hallway. That guy is way over here. So this is like 12-year-old code, meaning I was 12 years old when I wrote it and it was 12 years ago. That doesn't make chronological sense, but just ignore that. So first thing I want to do is wait 60 seconds. Actually, hang on a second. I'm gonna do like a minute multiplier. I'll just call it minutes equals math.random every, let's say 2 to 4 minutes, 60 times whatever minutes. So it generates a random number between 2 and 4 every time, so it'll either be, it can be anywhere from 2 to 4 minutes. I'm actually gonna nest this in another while true do. Actually, not even while true do, while script.parent.part1.transparency is greater than 0.5 do. I'll explain what all this does after I'm done working on it. Actually, I'll just walk you through it. All right, so basically we've created a list of all the parts that are in it. We've generated a random time between 2 and 4 minutes. Every iteration of this loop, it's gonna wait either from anywhere from 2 to 4 minutes, and then while one of the parts in the ghost is still not at 0.5 transparency, we're gonna keep doing this over and over again. And what this does is it's going to just loop through all the parts and make them get progressively more visible. And obviously it'll keep doing that until the transparency or visibility reaches 0.5. p.transparency minus equals 0.1. And then we'll wait for, how long does it wait? 5 seconds. That's a bit generous. Let's do 4 seconds. And now we're gonna do the same thing, but backwards. While script.parency, or script.parent.part1 is less than 1, we will keep adding to it by increments of 0.1 until it reaches 1 transparency, which means we can get rid of all of this. There we go. Doesn't that look a lot nicer? It's not just a wall of text anymore. Disappear and appear. So while I still haven't put a die cast on this, because once again, I'm gonna roll the dice on this, I'm going to say, wait every, let's say 6 seconds. I just wanna see how it works. Actually, I don't even need to do that. Let's say wait every 2. All right, let's run the game and see how that works. Or if it does, rather. Okay, so it works, but he doesn't fade in like I wanted, and I know why. I just need this to have a wait statement there, which means it just doesn't happen instantaneously. Technically faster for the human eye to actually see. There we go. So as you can see, it does that, but it kind of has that like materialization. That looks very cool, I must admit, but that's not quite what I want. And I put my weight in the wrong place. I think what we need to do is instead of putting it in the for loop, we need to put it in the while loop. Very confused. This is very confusing logic, I'll admit. In general, you don't want to have while true do loops without a wait statement because that could crash the game. So there we go. That's more like it. Gorgeous. That looks a lot better. All right. Wait 4 seconds. I'm just gonna label my code here, and I'll say, once again, local event equals wheelchair ghost. So now I'm going to add the dice. I want this to be common. I don't want it to be, I'll make it very common. Local dice equals game dot. Like, we've been through all this before. From the minimum roll value to the maximum roll value. And if the roll is equal to the value of the target number of the dice, then we'll do this. I just want to make sure the dice is actually rolling on that the way it should. Okay, so now you can see we're getting output. We're getting the numbers being rolled by the dice, and once it hits 1, that's when he fades in, and then he fades out, and then it'll keep rolling. And it rolled 1 again, so he appeared a second time. It's not gonna be this fast, obviously, but beauty of the dice roll. Oh man, he's getting so lucky. That's everything for today's video. Once again, I've recorded for almost 2 hours, and this is gonna be another painful video to edit. But a lot of it will probably be edited out, because a lot of it's just me sitting, staring, and thinking. Either way, thank you for watching this video. There's actually one thing I wanna do. I wanna make this smooth plastic instead of glass, because it's just too shiny. It's supposed to look like a stain and not like fresh blood, and the glass makes it look shiny, which makes it look like fresh liquid. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you found this video entertaining, informative, helpful, whatever, you name it, I do plan to make more, so if you want to see more, then go ahead and subscribe. I promise I won't bore you with making hydrogen peroxide bottles again. Unless you like that content. Maybe that's good content. I don't know. You tell me. Either way, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, leave a like, do all the things you do after you see a video you like, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye, everyone.